Imagine the arena. The lights have just cut out. Not a flicker, but a sudden plunge into a void. For a few seconds, the confusion and the darkness is palpable. You can feel the collective heartbeat of the crowd. They are waiting for the familiar, the bright colors, the heroic entrance music, the smile of the champion they have known for years. They expect the status quo. They expect the hero who shakes hands and kisses babies. But tonight the air feels heavier. There is a static charge that makes the hair on your arm stand up. In that pitch black, a low hum begins to vibrate through the floorboards. It isn't music yet. It is a warning. The internet, specifically the wrestling community on social media, is currently dormant. The timelines are scrolling at a normal pace. People are discussing match ratings and rumors. They have no idea that in exactly 10 seconds, the refresh button is going to become the most used tool on the planet. This is the calm. It is the deep breath before the plunge. The anticipation is a physical weight, pressing down on the chest of every fan in the building. They know something is coming, but they are looking for a hero. They don't realize they are about to stare into the abyss. Then, the reveal happens. The lights flare up and the gasp from the audience is audible, even over the broadcast. This isn't the superstar they knew. The bright, colorful gear is gone, replaced by matte black and distressed leather. Her hair, once perfectly styled, is now chaotic, war-painted, and wild. But it's the eyes represented in our animation by two sharp, glowing slits that tell the story. There is no desire for approval there. It's only a cold, calculated intent to dismantle. Within seconds, social media exploded. Her new gear, the smoke, the pyro, everything screamed destruction. Fans online and in the arena couldn't handle it. She's back, and her new dangerous look broke the internet instantly. It wasn't just a costume change, it was a character assassination of her former self. The timelines dissolved into chaos. Screenshots of her new terrifying silhouette were being retweeted faster than the eye could track. The contrast was too jarring for the human brain to process immediately. Was this a turn? Was this a breakdown? Or was this the first time we were seeing the real person beneath the brand? The image of her standing amidst the smoke, looking down at the ring like a conquering warlord, became iconic before she even took a step. The internet didn't just break, shattered under the weight of a new reality, while the world outside was burning with excitement. The atmosphere behind the curtain was frozen in a mixture of awe and terror. In the wrestling business, we call this the gorilla position. It is the nerve center of the show. Usually, it is a place of shouting instructions and timing cues. But right now, the producers were staring at the monitors in stunned silence. They knew she was returning. They knew about the gear. But seeing it live, seeing the way the light hit the spikes on her jacket, and the way the crowd's noise shifted from a cheer to a low, confused rumble, it felt dangerous. There is a very thin line in this industry between a scripted moment and legitimate chaos. Her walk to the ring was slower than rehearsed. She wasn't playing to the hard cam. She wasn't acknowledging the fans. She was marching to a funeral. The writers looked at each other, checking their scripts. This intensity? This wasn't on the page. The script said, "Make an entrance." It didn't say, "Instill fear." There was a sudden, creeping worry among management that they had unleashed something they couldn't control. Had she taken too much creative liberty? Was she going into business for herself? The line between the performer and the persona had vanished, and in that control room, the power dynamics shifted. They weren't directing her anymore. They were just witnessing her. If the fans were shocked, the locker room was rattled. You have to understand the ecosystem of a wrestling roster. It is a competitive Shark Tank. Everyone is fighting for screen time, for merchandise sales, for the main event spot. When someone leaves for a hiatus, there is a vacuum. Others step up. They take the spot. They get comfortable. But as they watched the monitor, seeing her tear through the smoke with this new, terrifying aesthetic, a collective realization washed over the locker room. The hierarchy just changed. It wasn't just jealousy, it was fear. Not fear of physical harm, these are professionals, but fear of irrelevance. New look made everyone else look like they were playing dress-up. She looked like she was fighting a war. The veterans in the back, the ones who had seen generations of stars come and go, nodded in silent respect. They recognized the look in her eyes. It's the look of someone who is tired of playing the game and has decided to flip the board over. The whispers started immediately. Did you see the paint? She's speaking tonight? Who agreed to let her wear that? The comfort of the status quo was gone. The locker room, usually a place of loud banter and ego, fell into a hush. The alpha had returned, and she was unrecognizable. Let's go back to the digital world. We say she broke the internet, but let's analyze what that actually feels like emotionally. It is a tsunami of validation mixed with confusion. Twitter, Instagram, Reddit platforms couldn't refresh fast enough. The first low-eye screenshots from fans in the front row began to circulate. They were blurry, shaken by trembling hands, but they captured the aura perfectly. The comment sections were a battlefield. Half the fans were mourning the loss of the hero they loved, the bright colors, the smiles, the high fives. They felt betrayed. They were posting crying emojis, asking why. The other half, they were intoxicated by the darkness. They saw the new look as an evolution, a necessary shedding of skin. They were creating fan art within minutes, sketching the new mask, the new scars. This is the unique power of visual storytelling in wrestling. She hadn't said a word yet. She hadn't thrown a single punch. All she did was walk out wearing something different, and millions of people were arguing about her morality. The algorithm favored the chaos. The engagement metrics spiked vertically. Wrestling news sites crashed under the traffic. It was a perfect storm of curiosity. People who hadn't watched the product in years were logging in, tagged by friends, asking, "Is that really her?" The image of her standing in the ring, bathed in purple light, became the defining thumbnail of the year in less than an hour. In the absence of an explanation, the human mind creates its own fiction. This is where the emotional weight of the story deepened. I guess she didn't grab a microphone and explain herself. The speculation machine went into overdrive. Fans began to dissect every inch of the new look for clues. The black leather represents her grief over the title loss, one user theorized. The paint on her right eye matches the scar from her last big match, another pointed out. They were looking for meaning in the fabric, searching for a story in the stitching. It turned into a digital scavenger hunt. This speculation blurred the lines between the character and the real woman. Was this change mandated by the company? Or was this a rebellion? Rumors started flying that she had refused to come back unless she could change everything. The narrative shifted from what a cool outfit to what is she going through. The audience began to project their own struggles onto her. To some, the dark look represented depression. To others, it represented rage and empowerment. She became a mirror. By hiding her face behind a new mask and new aesthetic, she allowed the world to see whatever they wanted to see. The mystery wasn't just a marketing tactic. It was an emotional hook that dragged everyone into the deep end of the pool, desperate for answers that she wasn't ready to give. The show ends. The cameras cut to black. The fans file out of the arena, buzzing with excitement, buying the new merchandise that was printed only hours ago. But for her, the adrenaline crash is violent. You rarely think about the human being inside the viral moment. Imagine the drive back to the hotel. She's sitting in the back of a rental car, the smell of pyro still clinging to her hair. Her phone is vibrating non-stop, thousands of messages, praise, hate, confusion. She turns it off. There is a profound loneliness in reinvention. To become this new monster, she had to kill the part of herself that everyone loved. She had to commit to the bit. Walking through the hotel lobby, she keeps her head down. She can't smile at the fans waiting by the elevators, because that would break the illusion. She has to carry the darkness with her, even when the show is over. The silence of the hotel room stands in stark contrast to the roar of the arena. She looks at the new gear thrown over the chair, the spikes, the leather. It looks like armor. And perhaps that's what it is. She realizes that the viral moment wasn't just about looking cool. It was about building a wall so high that no one could hurt her again. The hardest part of a dramatic change isn't the audience. It's the people who know you by your first name. She makes a video call home. The screen lights up. Her family saw the entrance on TV. They saw the dark makeup, the aggression, the way she looked at the camera with dead eyes. "Are you okay?" they ask. It's a simple question, but it carries so much weight. How do you explain that the darkness is just a job? How do you tell your mother that the terrifying figure trending on Twitter is still her daughter? She has to reassure them. It's just business. It's just a story. but as she speaks, she feels the disconnect. The character is bleeding into the person. The intensity required to pull off this new look, to make the world believe in this dangerous persona, takes a toll. She has to tap into real anger, real frustration to make it authentic. Her family looks at her with a mix of pride and worry. They see the success, the internet is broken, the world is talking, but they also see the exhaustion. They realize that this new look requires a sacrifice. She has traded being a superhero for being a force of nature, and forces of nature are inherently lonely. The call ends, and she is left alone with the persona she created. A week passes. The internet has not calmed down. If anything, the theories have multiplied. Now it is time for the confrontation. She stands in the ring again. The shock value of the entrance is gone, replaced by a simmering tension. Opposite her stands the champion, the person she used to be friends with, the person who represents everything she used to be. The contrast is visually poetic, light versus dark, the past versus the future. The rival picks up a microphone. Why? She asks. Why the change? Why the darkness? The crowd leans in. This is the moment they have been refreshing their feeds for. They want the explanation. They want the motive. But she doesn't speak. She simply tilts her head. The new look, the contact lenses, the dark lipstick, the heavy coat creates a barrier. She isn't there to explain herself. She's there to erase the past. The silence stretches out. It is uncomfortable, creates a vacuum of emotion. By refusing to engage in the verbal back and forth, she elevates the story. She shows that she has evolved beyond the need for words. The rival lowers the microphone, realizing that the friend they knew is gone. The visuals tell the story better than any promo could. The tragedy of the lost friendship hangs in the air, thick and suffocating. And here's the twist. Here is the depth that adds meaning to the viral moment. As she steps through the ropes to leave, the camera catches a tiny detail, a micro-expression. For a split second, the monster drops the act. She looks at the crowd not with hatred, but with relief. The new look broke the internet because it looked dangerous. But the truth was that the look was a sanctuary. The spikes, the leather, the smoke, they weren't weapons to hurt others. They were a shell to protect herself. The pressure of being the perfect hero, the smiling role model, had almost broken her. This villain arc was actually an act of self-preservation. The fans thought they were watching a corruption arc. In reality, they were watching a liberation. She broke the internet not because she changed, but because for the first time, she stopped pretending. She destroyed the image everyone wanted her to be, so she could finally breathe. The screen fades to black. The viral moment is over. The legacy begins. And the internet is left asking the only question that matters. Who are we when the lights go out?